Last year, for those of you who were with us, I introduced the First Sea Lord to the lyrics of Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat, which caught him slightly by surprise. This year, I hope we can hear whether any of his dreams are coming true. First Sea Lord, you can't hear the ripple of applause that you normally would, but the screen is yours.
Good morning, and thank you very much, James, for that introduction. I was rather wondering if this year was going to be something like The Wizard of Oz or something like that. So I'm rather grateful that we haven't got any musical accompaniment this time. Anyway, it's a delight to be here, and I just want to form a simple frame for this talk. A short look back at what I said last year and how things have turned out, and a look ahead over the next 12 months. And perhaps in another 12 months' time, you can gauge whether or not my fortune telling has improved. And this time last year, I told you that I was excited, bullish about all the things that we were doing, eager to get on and do it all. I told you we would demand more of our equipment and people, deploying further, faster and longer to deliver UK forward presence around the globe. I told you we would be bolder in technology and acquisition, demanding progress in autonomy and lethality. And I said that we would be unsparing in challenging convention, transforming to become a more efficient and productive Royal Navy. And the good news is I think we've been doing all of that and more. I talked about that we would be forward basing HMS Montrose in Bahrain. We didn't just forward base her, we turned her into the most reliable frigate in the fleet. She was available for tasking 99% of her time and has the lowest rate of defects of any ship in the class. I wanted our staff structures to be leaner and more efficient. We've adopted a completely new operating model. It's given clearer two-star responsibility, much simpler, much more one Navy, resulting in greater accountability for projects that have the greatest impact. And it's also meant that we need fewer admirals, and we're reducing our headquarters staff by nearly 40%. And while we did that, we as a nation declared ourselves ready to deploy a carrier strike task group for the first time in a generation, and with no real uplift in people. I told you I wanted to accelerate the rate at which we adopt crewless and autonomous technology into the fleet. We still have a lot to do, but we've made a start. And we really are prepared to swap ships for drones. One of the best examples is in mine hunting. At the end of last year, we signed a £184 million contract with Thales to deliver a new autonomous mine hunting system. We will be able to clear mines more efficiently, more effectively, and more safely. We're also working on what will be the world's largest uncrewed underwater vehicle, and we're investing millions in novel and disruptive ASW capabilities. But what makes all of this even more fulfilling is that we are doing this against the backdrop of COVID, supporting the government and the UK's interests around the world. We have been and continue to work alongside the Army and the Air Force to help out other government departments, and our medics continue to work alongside the NHS in the front line of the pandemic. 820 Naval Air Squadron have provided transport, 42 Commando have conducted testing in the southwest, 900 reservists volunteered for duty, with nearly 300 deployed in all kinds of roles, from medics to logisticians to planners. And you might remember that RFA Argus supported our overseas territories in the Caribbean, with Merlin and Wildcat helicopters, Royal Marines and British Army engineers embarked as well. And just as impressive, during that deployment, she seized over 5,000 kilograms of illegal drugs worth over £400 million. So I'm incredibly proud of what the Royal Navy has achieved under these circumstances. We've been able to maintain all our core outputs and still continue to drive forwards on our transformation program. But this isn't meant to be a bragging sheet. No, it is to reflect that I'm even more bullish about the coming year. And the reason to be optimistic is more than the vaccination program gathering mass and momentum and the light emerging at the end of the COVID tunnel. It is to reflect that we now have two very substantial building blocks for defence going forwards. The first is the integrated operating concept, where the Secretary of State and Chief of Defence Staff have outlined how the armed forces will deepen integration of maritime, land, air, space and cyber to achieve that multi-domain effect and better respond to this era of constant competition and technological change and those aspects that James mentioned in his introduction. The second is the Prime Minister's announcement in November, an extra £24 billion for defence over the next 4 years. The demand for a once-in-a-generation modernisation of our armed forces, more investment in digital, cyber, space and AI. And more specifically for the Navy, the Prime Minister heralded a shipbuilding era and a clear ambition for the Royal Navy to be the foremost naval power in Europe. And that translates as all 8 ships of the Type 26 class. Fleet solid support ships to allow our aircraft carriers to operate anywhere in the world. New multi-role ocean surveillance ships to protect our critical undersea cables. A new class of Type 32 frigates to add to our new Type 31 frigates. Shipping to support our future commando force. An affirmation of the UK's commitment to the Dreadnought programme and the maintenance of the continuous at sea deterrent. This shift towards maritime investment is not unique. It's representative of numerous other navies, whether that's Australia, Japan, India, France, and the United States. The threats that we face, the relentless growth of commercial shipping volumes, climate change, opening up new trade routes, the need to influence, protect our values, and where necessary, compete. All of these, once again, are focused on the world's oceans. And that brings me to my final point, where I see the Royal Navy going over the course of this year. The integrated review and the integrated operating concept give a clear route forward from both the Prime Minister and the Secretary of State to Defence. This is to meet the UK's strategic direction. Our role is for all of us as chiefs and of the various services to deliver against those requirements. For the Navy, that's about realising our shipbuilding programme, working even more cohesively with the Army, RAF, Strategic Command, driving technological innovation, and we must keep improving the availability of our existing ships and submarines and keep closing the gaps in our personnel plot. And at the same time, we need to maintain what we started with transformation, more forward presence. Our offshore patrol vessels are already deployed around the world. Soon we will be able to augment them with even more capable Type 31s. More double crewing, building on the success of HMS Montrose. More support done at distance. Again, the success of the Montrose model gives me confidence that we can manage deploying ships and even start to imagine they're never returning to the UK. But most importantly, more of a different mindset. A mindset that drives automation and modularity and flexibility. I revel in the fact that we have HMS Glasgow in build as the first Type 26 ASW frigate. And she has an enormous mission deck that can take 14 containers. And we have had the confidence to wait and see how we best use that space. That space can be used with containers holding a raft of different technologies. That could be directed energy weapons, it might be railguns, it might be mobile mini factories with laser printing capabilities, it might be MCM in a box, it could be a full office suite for an embassy, or it could be medical facilities, or a suite of surface, air, or underwater drones to enhance a single ship's reach. That, to me, is much more of what the Royal Navy of the future is starting to look like. Every ship, submarine, and Royal Marine really will be a sensor, an intelligence station, an embassy, a launch pad for a range of new technologies, and all of them playing their part in increasing maritime special operations. And of course, this year sees what the Prime Minister has called our most ambitious deployment for 2 decades. HMS Queen Elizabeth, one of the most modern and most capable aircraft carriers in the world, will deploy at the heart of a multinational carrier strike group with Royal Navy and RAF jets and helicopters embarked. She will sail through the Mediterranean, through Suez, through the Indian Ocean, and on into the Indo-Pacific. And on the way, she will exercise with our allies and partners from around the world. Very much the floating embodiment of global Britain. So this really is an exciting time for the Royal Navy and for UK defence. It has to be. It has to be in order to respond to the threats that we face, to embrace the technological revolution that is all around us. And that excitement has to be matched by our people and our partners in industry. Recruitment is up, retention is up, tonnage is up. But to be successful, we need to keep our desire to change and adapt and transform also up. And alongside that, our bureaucracy has to go down, our costs have to come down, and our timelines have to come down. And I know that is a tall order, but the additional money for defence was very clearly loaded. It was to enable defence to change, not to carry on being the same or to bail defence out of some tricky financial pressures. It was about shifting defence to better respond to the challenges that the nation faces and to become the armed forces that the Prime Minister demands and the integrated operating concept enables. This then is the Royal Navy as we head into 2021, working hand in hand with the rest of defence, with government, with industry and with our international partners. Global, modern, ready. From the seabed to space, from the Arctic to the Antarctic, a global navy for global Britain. Thank you.